All right, people. Review of the week time. So, review of the week early this week. It's an earlier one this week. Normally goes out on a Monday, but we're uploading it on Sunday for the simple reason. Excuse me. I'll be out all day today, and I won't be back until tonight. And by then, I'll probably just want to sleep because I'll have been out all day. I won't be doing anything crazy, but I'll just be tired from the travel because I'm going up to a different county and then back to London. So it's a long day, right? But I'm looking forward to it. I'm seeing family for my birthday, which is on Tuesday. So there you go. But it means I'm just going to do this now this morning. The new mic, which is finally working, which I know a lot of people have been saying it sounds good. Thank you all for that. And yeah, I haven't uploaded much the last couple of days. I had a few things, been a little bit, it's been a little bit of a, it's not been the most in terms of boxing news. And then for me, I just felt like I needed a break from everything. So for me, it's just been, right, take the couple of days, recharge the batteries, and yeah, here we are doing a weekly review. So let's start. There's a lot to talk about, but let's start with what transpired last night. And I'm not talking about the GBM show. In fact, let's just start with the GBM show. Sean McComb versus a guy called Ben Crooker. McComb got the win. McComb still hasn't got his rematch, which I think is long overdue with Arnold Barbosa Jr. when he clearly beat him about a year or so ago. Sean McComb, I never really rated him too highly on the come up. I never really did. I thought he was alright. It's like that. He's alright. But, nothing really jumped out at me. When he did that performance against Barbosa, who I think beat Jack Catterall fair and square. So it kind of says, right, that he's on par with these world level guys, right? Fought a guy called Ben Crooker last night, was down very heavy in the first round, very heavy. And Ben Crooker, not really a big puncher, so I was thinking, ooh, that's not good. He did then go on to get a foothold in the fight, was able to come through it, and was able to win it on points. Now, I don't really know, this was bear in mind, it's at 140 pounds, right? So I think the way that division is and the way it's shaping up, there could be some openings. There could be some gaps there. I mean, you've got Matias as world champion. We'll talk about him and Dalton Smith now in a wee bit. But there could be something there at world level, certainly for Sean McComb. I definitely think. As for the rest of the GBM show, I didn't really watch much of it. At the end of the day, yesterday again, it was just a day where it was just like, right, anything but boxing until we get to the bare-knuckle boxing. And that's what I watched last night. Now, this is what we're going to talk about. James Degale. James Degale retired February 2019, and he was reasonably young. He wasn't like old. I think he was only in his early to mid 30s. He retired after his fight with Chris Eubank Jr., where he looked awful. His punt resistance looked shot to bits. He just looked done, right? He retired, and unlike most fighters who retire, and I mean that, unlike most fighters who retire, because most of them when they retire, if they're at any way decent name, like James Degale was, they're sticking around in some capacity. I mean, for God's sake, people, we have fighters who are barely area level who, get prominent gigs. So, James Degale, former world champion, won an Olympic gold, didn't he? You'd think he'd be, sticking around, but he didn't. Went off the radar. Literally went off the radar for 6 years and then resurfaced in a TalkSport interview where he was announcing he'd be coming back in a bare-knuckle fight against Matty Floyd, who he fought last night. James Degale in that TalkSport interview, he didn't sound the best. He's not Riddick Bowe, but you could see there was a deterioration in his speech. In particular, because when I watched his interview on TalkSport, I wanted to know, was it just me who felt that his speech had deteriorated slightly? So what I did is, I got a James Degale interview from, I think, like 2014, 2015. People, it's clear as day. Noticeable difference. Noticeable deterioration in his speech. So for me, I was kind of like, oh, now he's coming back. He's talked about not living the cleanest lifestyle, even when he was in his prime, which does kind of explain why. Well, James Degale always would fade in fights. If you ever watch the prime James Degale, he would tend to start very fast. He actually got a lot of knockdowns early. Like, he was never the biggest puncher, but if he'd come out fast and he'd catch you cold, he'd drop you. He was never he did that against Badu Jack as well. He's never the biggest puncher, but he'd always start fast. He'd pick up a couple of rounds, and then he'd just fade. And the problem was, right, he didn't hit hard enough to keep you off him, and he didn't have the he very much lacked physical strength, James Degale. He was always getting bullied in there. So he wouldn't really have the power to keep you off him, and then he wouldn't have the physical strength to be able to, back you up or stop you in your tracks or anything like that. So it meant if you look at James Degale fights, a lot of them are close. You know, he fought a guy called Porky Medina in 2016. People, that was razor close. And Porky Medina was battered from pillar to post by Dave Benavidez, I think a fight or two later. He was never a tremendous super middleweight. Porky Medina wasn't that good. But Gale made some of these fights so hard for himself. He had that war with Badu Jack, which he took a beating in. He lost one of his teeth. I think that was already damaged by Avni Yildirim in sparring. I think he was the guy who knocked that tooth out originally, but Badu Jack exacerbated it. And Badu Jack just beat James Degale up. He really did. And somehow he escaped with a draw. But you could see James Degale, even in his prime, you know, he was just all right, right? Now he's pushing 40. Hasn't probably lived the cleanest life in his prime and certainly in the last 6 years. And he just looked old in there. He didn't look like he belonged in that bare-knuckle ring, to be honest with you. It was awful to watch because it was messy. There was fouls. There was clinching. I just didn't think that... Like, again, I'm not someone who's really watched much bare-knuckle boxing. I have seen some of it. I remember when Artem Lobov fought Paulie Malignaggi, and I've seen a couple of other ones. I've seen Hannah Rankin got brutally knocked out in the first round a couple of months ago. Hannah Rankin, former world champion at 160 pounds. Hannah Rankin fought at thereabouts 154. Female, obviously. So I've seen some brutal knockouts in it, but to actually sit down and watch a fight, it was not really the most compelling viewing. James Degale won on a unanimous decision. Again, a lot of point deductions. Some were saying that this was a once-off for Degale in bare knuckle, but that he is thinking of making a return to boxing, real boxing. I'm like, mate, it's done. It was done in 2019 when you retired. It's not going to be any better now. And why do you need to come back? That's the question. Like, what did you do? It can't just be that you think you have it in you, because you don't. You didn't have it in you 6 years ago. You're not going to have it now. What's happened? What has happened? What's gone on there? So I do wonder is that, because James Degale just... I don't know. And that's the honest to God truth when I look at James Degale and he talks about his, you know, proposed comeback and stuff like that. I'm not all for it. I think it's going to end in disaster, and certainly don't go anywhere near bare knuckle boxing, because neither guy, both guys made their debuts. I think Floyd made his debut as well in bare knuckle boxing last night, but neither guy really looked like they belonged in a bare knuckle ring, because it is different. It is different. It's not the same. It's not the same. And the way some of those fighters who are in those bare knuckles, oh my God, it's not fun, man. It's not fun. So I would be saying to James Degale, look, you had your little run out. I hope you got well paid for it. Now, see you later. What else is there to talk about? So, Dalton Smith, Subrel Matias, January 10th. Dalton Smith said that the planned date for his WBC super lightweight world title fight against Subrel Matias is in New York. Teofimo Lopez, Shakur Stevenson is reportedly planned for a card in January in New York as well. So that could be the undercard being lined up for Teofimo Lopez, Shakur Stevenson. But I thought this fight was originally meant to be on that November date. So Subrel Matias, two-time world champion now, IBF and WBC, has held them both. Him against Smith, you know, I forget the guy who Matias beat, but I don't know why, but I suspect Team Smith would have preferred to have fight him rather than Matias, because Matias still has something about him. He's got a very taxing style on the body. You know, he'll take one to give 10, if you know what I mean, and he throws a lot of punches, big puncher, but entertaining. But that style is taxing, and I think you've seen it over the last couple of fights, like the Liam Parrow fight in particular, which fight he lost. I think the gas is starting to come out of the tank of Matias, and I love watching Subrel Matias. I've sang his praises for the longest on here, but I don't know. I'm kind of 50-50 when it comes to that fight, who I think will win. It's a good fight nonetheless. Now, this is one here. Frank Warren is not best pleased with boxer and Ben Shalom. And I can't really blame him. And when I say one's a good one, one's not. Parker Wardley, we obviously know, is on October the 25th at the O2 Arena in London. I'm looking forward to it. I think a lot of others are looking forward to it. Then this week it was announced that Fraser Clark will face Jamie TKV on the same day in Derby. And that is going to be on BBC 2 with the undercard on iPlayer. Jesus Christ. Why? Like... Right, you have 4 dates. I'm going to quote Frank Warren, but it's what Frank Warren said. You have 4 dates with BBC. How is it possible that you still manage to hit in? Like, it's just ridiculous. And Ben Shalom's done this. You're like, Ben, this is stupid, right? He's done this before. He's had to put shows on at like 2 in the afternoon. I think he had to put one of Adam Azim's fights on at 2 in the afternoon because it was hitting in with other fights. He's done this so many times. And the problem with this one is, right, and Frank Warren, I'll quote him, right, he said, I'm not happy with this. And I think it's because of what the BBC are, which is a national broadcaster. I think it's unfair competition. They wouldn't do that with a football match, would they? Or a rugby match. Of course they wouldn't. They just wouldn't do it. And what Frank Warren is alluding to there, right, is that Wardley versus Parker is on the Zone. It's on pay-per-view. TKV versus Clark, although not as good a fight, is on BBC. It's the national broadcaster. Every TV has it. It's not costing you a penny. No ad breaks. Everything. So that's going to take so much away from Frank Warren's show on the broadcast there. Now, I know some people are going to argue that might be a good thing because they feel it's absolutely saturated with pay-per-view now. And quite frankly, yeah, I actually don't disagree with you. I mean, for me personally, I've said it once, I'll say it again. Parker Wardley, love the fight, think it's going to be epic, think it's going to be fun. I'll be doing a watch along that day, specifically for that fight. But do I think it's right to be on pay-per-view? Certainly not. Do I think it's right that they're clashing these shows together? Likewise, I don't. I think that you're actually probably just taking away from the fighters as well doing that. I really think it's stupid. I really don't, and it's been consistent. Now, Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren have done it in the past. I remember Eddie Hearn used to do it a little bit with Frank Warren. I distinctly remember in 2018, Carl Frampton, Josh Warrington was pay-per-view was it in Manchester? And Dylan White fought Derek Chisora in London in the rematch. They were both on pay-per-view. I didn't agree with that then. I don't agree with it now. I think it's silly. I think that a lot of it is just egos with promoters and stuff like that, you know. But what they don't realise is they're actually taking away from their fighters. Like, they're genuinely taking away from their fighters by doing that. So that is what that is. In terms of undercards that we got announcements for, Ben versus Eubank, the undercard was announced for that. Like I said, it's all right. It's all right. I was kind of low-key disappointed that we didn't get Riakporhe versus Joe Joyce. We're not getting that. We're getting Tommy Welsh instead. But saying that, Joe Joyce again, I said it in the video at the time, I'm like, maybe that's probably for the best that he's not actually going to be there. Now, I'm right in thinking Riakporhe is a boxer fighter, Echo Usman is a Queensbury, as is Sam Gilly, Jack Catterall Matchroom, Adam Azim boxer. So we're getting the 3 promoters, they're all working on this. And it's not on BBC, Ben Shalom. Just saying. But the undercard, I think the first Ben Eubank undercard was better, certainly on paper. I mean, as I said, you know, Adam Azim could be okay. Sam Gilly, Ishmael Davis, that'd be a good fight, to be fair. Jack Catterall versus Echo Usman. As I said, Echo Usman, highly entertaining. And then there's Jack Catterall. Need I say more? No offense, Jack Catterall, but your fights just bore the living daylight out of me. You know, it's a grind trying to get through one of them. It really is a grind. Fighter who it's never a chore to watch is Derek Chisora. And he will be coming back for fight number 50 in Manchester on December the 13th. Moses Atauma is expected to headline the card. There's rumours, and they are just that. They're rumours, right? There's nothing to substantiate these whatsoever. There's rumours that it's going to be Deontay Wilder. I don't believe it'll be Deontay Wilder personally. I think that Deontay Wilder is probably going to do another BKL or BK, what was it? Is it BKL or something like that it's called? Fight against a miscellaneous opponent. Say he's back, saying he's got the fire back in him, saying this, that and the other. And then the minute he steps up, he's not letting the right hand go and he's getting knocked out brutally again. If they did do Chisora versus Deontay Wilder, now, in their prime, I always felt Deontay Wilder would wash Derek Chisora, probably stop him. Well, say stop him, definitely stop him, but knock him out. Now, with the way Wilder's not able to let that right hand go, he's being ragdolled in there, he's been knocked out a bunch of times. I've got Chisora winning probably by stoppage. Seriously, I've got Chisora beating the brakes off Deontay Wilder at this point. Wilder's done. You see, Chisora is just one of those guys. Chisora is not emotional like Deontay Wilder. He's not as out there. So, well, he is. You could argue Chisora is definitely out there, but I think he's got, for want of a better word, his feet more on the ground than Deontay Wilder, who was just delusional as all hell after the loss to Fury. He went through that phase of, you remember when he was whispering into trying to intimidate interviewers and whispering, I can't wait, and all that. He's always been a bit out there. And now he's lost. Now he's comfy. Now he's had a bit of the old Graham Hancock. Now I think he's just collecting. You can tell himself he's not, but he is. That's what he's doing. He's just collecting. So if they did do that fight, I'd have Derek Chisora firm favourite. This fight right here, where we saw Tank Davis have a face-off or attempt to face-off, needed a stepladder, mate, with Jake Paul. Yeah, now in Miami, November 14th on Netflix. 3-minute rounds, 195 pound catch weight. That's going to be hilarious to see how little under that Tank Davis is. 3 scoring judges, a decision made if it goes the distance, and 12-ounce gloves. Wow. Just phenomenal. Do you know what? Just absolutely phenomenal. It really is. I swear to God, like, why? It just... Oh dear. Anyway, I can't even bring myself to talk about it. The less said about that, whatever you want to call it. I was going to call it a fight, but it's less said about that, the better. Let's finish with this. So, October's schedule is actually pretty good. November's schedule is definitely better. It has, big fights with big cards. But October is not a bad month, right? So, next week, we have Nathaniel Collins. That's up in Scotland. Nathaniel Collins is an interesting one. I like watching him fight. I do. So, Collins is going to be an interesting watch. I'll have a look at that next week. The following week, then, up to Sheffield. And again, these are all on the zone, by the way. The following week, it's up to Sheffield, Dave Allen versus Arslanbek Makhmudov. Now, that one is an interesting one. I will do a prediction video for that because I think it warrants it. It's one that I'm kind of scratching my head over, just in terms of who I think will win. Because Makhmudov is so slow, and he's so limited, and he doesn't take a particularly good body punch, but he's so much better than Johnny Fisher. Like, Dave Allen beat Johnny Fisher. People, Johnny Fisher has always been a gimmick. I respect the kid. He's trying to make something of himself in boxing. I can't knock that. I respect it 100%. But at the end of the day, you're there as a gimmick. Like, if Johnny Fisher didn't have that Bosch Essex kind of gimmick to him, if he was, say he was from, I don't know, Southampton, and he was just a normal guy and this, that, and he essentially take someone from Southampton, put Johnny Fisher from Southampton as a boxer, right? We'll say, right? Would he get promoted by Eddie Hearn? No. Would he be selling out these places? No. Would he even leave the small hall scene? No. He'd probably be a journeyman. Seriously. So, that's who Dave Allen beat twice. He really did beat him twice. But you got to remember, it's not that long ago Dave Allen was quitting against Fraser Clark. It isn't that, and he was soundly beaten by Fraser Clark. Soundly. Never was even remotely in that fight. Makhmudov, although limited as he is, he has wins over the likes of Carlos Takam. I don't care what you say, Carlos Takam is better than anyone in terms of wins on Dave Allen's resume, as far as I'm concerned. And even Lucas Brown. Lucas Brown was in bare-knuckle fights too, for God's sake. So I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, right, yeah, Makhmudov is very limited. He's very slow, very easy to hit. But he's technically not that terrible. Tremendous puncher. And Dave Allen has a really, really good chin. So I'm kind of like, what way does it go? So that one's going to be an interesting one. October 17th, Kieran Conway versus George Liddard. That's in the York Hall. I'm actually probably going to go to that just as a fan, because the York Hall's not that far from me. And that's a good fight, actually. I'd make Kieran Conway firm favourite. And then obviously Joseph Parker versus Fabio Wardley to end the month. So October's going to be a busy old month on here, lads. Busy old month. So I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So I will leave that there. We'll upload this today. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, people, if you could, smash the like button, hit subscribe. Normal service resumed. I had a couple of days off and badly needed, I think. It's been a rough week. It's been a shit week. Yeah, I'm even going there. It's been an absolute shit week. So, needed to recharge things. We are good to go. And, yeah, looking forward to today. Like I said, it's my birthday on Tuesday. So, meeting family for dinner today. And it's going to be nice. And I hope you all enjoy this. Have a great Sunday. Have a great week. Business as usual tomorrow. We will go live this week, probably on Wednesday. Only on a Wednesday. I always go live after my birthday or on my birthday, depending. So yes, we will do that as well. And until then, peace.